Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Endeavour, watching the endless stars drift by through the main viewport. For the past 3 months, his crew had been charting new star systems, quiet, uneventful work in the vast emptiness of space. Then the emergency signal came. A red light began flashing on the control panel, and Lieutenant Maria Santos, the ship's communications officer, turned to face him. Worry etched on her face. "Captain, we have an urgent message from Earth Command," she said, her voice tight with concern. "It's marked Priority 1. Jake moved quickly to the main display and activated the incoming transmission. The face of Admiral John Hayes appeared on the screen, and it was immediately clear that something was terribly wrong. The Admiral's usual calm, measured expression had been replaced by visible fear. "All vessels, return to Earth immediately," Admiral Hayes ordered. "We've made contact with an alien empire, calling itself the Zarian Dominion. They've issued an ultimatum, and you need to hear this directly from President Carter." The screen switched to a broadcast from Earth. President Lisa Carter sat behind her desk in the White House, flanked by senior military and government officials. Her expression was grave, more serious than Jake had ever seen it. "To all citizens of Earth and personnel in space," President Carter began, "today marks a grave moment in our history. An alien empire has contacted us using advanced probe technology. They demand our unconditional surrender within 30 days, or they will annihilate every human world and colony." Jake felt his stomach sink. Around him, his crew abandoned their workstations, gathering silently around the screen, listening as the president spoke. "They have shown us proof of their strength," Carter continued. "Images of a fleet that has already conquered over 200 worlds. Their ships are enormous, their technology far surpassing our own. As a demonstration of their power, they destroyed several large asteroids in our outer solar system with ease." The screen shifted to display the alien images. Holographic visuals showed colossal warships, each the size of a city, moving in perfect formation. Their hulls were jagged and menacing, with glowing weapons and an ominous presence. There weren't dozens. There were hundreds, maybe even thousands. "Their leader," the president said, as she reappeared on the screen, "calls himself High Commander Vexed Thaler. He claims resistance is futile, and that we must accept our place as a subjugated species. He promises to spare humanity, but only as servants within his empire." Lieutenant Santos stepped closer to Jake, her voice barely above a whisper. "Captain, what do we do?" Jake raised a hand, signaling for silence as the president's message continued. "I have convened an emergency meeting of the Colonial Defense Council," Carter announced. "We're considering every possible option, diplomatic and military alike. All space vessels are ordered to return to Earth immediately for reassignment. Civilian populations on outer colonies will begin evacuations to safer locations as a precaution." The transmission ended. For a moment, the bridge was utterly still. Jake looked around at his crew, 25 men and women, scientists and explorers by trade, not soldiers. But now, none of them could escape what lay ahead. The calm days of exploration were over. They had joined the space program to help humanity reach for the stars, not to fight a war with alien invaders. "Captain," called Dr. Kevin Walsh, the Endeavour's science officer, his voice tight with urgency. "I've been monitoring long-range sensors. We're picking up some strange readings near the edge of the solar system." Jake crossed the bridge to the science station. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures we can't identify," Walsh explained, pointing to the data. "They don't match any known human technology or natural phenomena. They started appearing about 6 hours ago, right around the time we got that emergency message from Earth." Jake studied the display. Several large objects were moving through space near the outer planets. They were too distant for clear visuals, but their size suggested only one thing. "Are they the aliens?" asked Lieutenant Santos quietly. "Possibly," Walsh replied. "Or it could be our own ships moving into defensive positions. At this range, it's hard to say." Jake made his decision. "Set a course for Earth, maximum speed. Send a message to every human ship in the area. Tell them to group up for the trip home." As the Endeavour banked and accelerated toward Earth, Jake's thoughts raced. 30 days wasn't much time to prepare for a war against a vastly superior enemy. Could humanity even survive this? Over the next several hours, reports flooded in from other exploration ships and colony vessels. Every crew had received the same message, and like the Endeavour, they were racing back to Earth. The mood across the fleet was grim. Captains exchanged what little information they had about the Zarian Dominion. The aliens had delivered recordings of the worlds they'd conquered, vast cities reduced to rubble, defenses obliterated in seconds by enormous energy weapons, and civilians marched into occupation camps. Captain Amy Foster, commanding the research vessel Discovery, sent a private message to Jake. "Have you heard anything about our military capabilities?" she asked, her face pale on the screen. The president mentioned military options, but let's be honest, our defense fleet isn't built for this. We're explorers, not soldiers. How do we stand against hundreds of alien warships? Jake had been asking himself the same question. Humanity's military presence in space consisted of around 50 combat-ready ships, most designed for patrols, escort duty, and stopping pirate raids. They had never faced a real enemy, especially not one like this. "I don't know," Jake admitted, "but if there's one thing I believe, it's that our leaders won't give up without a fight." As hours turned to days, fragments of intelligence began circulating through the fleet. The Zarian Dominion's tactics were brutal and efficient. Obliterate military installations with overwhelming firepower, then deploy ground forces to crush resistance. Entire civilizations had fallen in days. Jake gathered his senior officers in the ship's conference room. Lieutenant Santos, Dr. Walsh, and Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez sat around the table, their faces grim. "I want you all to know the truth," Jake began. "We're facing an enemy that's conquered hundreds of worlds. Their weapons and technology are beyond anything we've ever seen, and we're outmatched in numbers and firepower. So what do we do?" asked Rodriguez. "Are we just going to surrender?" Jake shook his head. "I don't know what the government will decide, but I do know this. Humanity doesn't give up easily. Every time we've faced impossible odds, we've found a way to survive, and I believe we can do it again." Dr. Walsh leaned in. "Captain, about those energy readings. What if they aren't alien ships?" Jake frowned. "What do you mean? What if they're ours? Think about it. We've known for decades there was a chance of alien contact. What if, in secret, our leaders have been preparing for something like this?" The idea sent a flicker of hope through the room. For years, there'd been whispers of classified defense projects, hidden military outposts, and advanced weapons programs the public never knew about. "It's possible," Jake admitted. "And if it is, we'll find out when we reach Earth. Until then, make sure every system on this ship is running at peak performance. We may need every advantage we can get." As the Endeavour continued its high-speed journey toward Earth, Jake returned to the bridge and gazed out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien empire was preparing to wipe out everything humanity had built. In less than 30 days, mankind would either find a way to fight back, or vanish from the galaxy forever. 2 weeks later, the Endeavour finally reached Earth orbit. What Jake saw took his breath away. The sky above Earth was filled with ships, hundreds of them, transports, defense vessels, refitted freighters. It was the largest gathering of human ships in history, and this was only the beginning. The space around Earth was crowded with vessels of every kind, from massive cargo freighters to nimble patrol ships. On the surface, It all appeared routine, but Jake could feel the tension in every transmission crackling over the comm channels. Then, across every screen in orbit and aboard every ship, the image of President Lisa Carter appeared. She looked exhausted, her expression hardened by the weight of history on her shoulders. Standing just behind her was Admiral Susan Clark, a name Jake knew well by reputation, a brilliant, uncompromising leader, rumored to be both relentless and fearless when it counted. Citizens of humanity, President Carter began, her voice steady. We have 2 weeks left before the Zarian Dominion's deadline. I won't lie to you. We are preparing to surrender, to save as many lives as we can. Jake's heart dropped at the words. Around him, his crew stared at the screen in disbelief. Lieutenant Maria Santos shook her head slowly, her face pale, but the president wasn't finished. However, Carter continued, we will not surrender without protecting our people first. Evacuations of all outer colonies are underway. Civilians are being moved to fortified safe zones. This is not the end of humanity. It is the beginning of a new chapter. The broadcast ended, but Jake's eyes remained fixed on Admiral Clark. During the president's speech, she had made a series of subtle, deliberate hand gestures. To most, they would mean nothing. But to trained military eyes, they looked like coded signals, though Jake couldn't decipher them. Hours later, as Jake reviewed ship systems in his quarters, a secure encrypted message arrived through a channel he'd never accessed before. Report to Docking Bay 7 immediately. Tell no one. Jake hesitated only a moment before deciding to follow the order. He left Lieutenant Santos in command of the Endeavour and boarded a small shuttle to the designated location. Docking Bay 7 was in an old, seldom-used section of the station, a place most had long forgotten. When Jake arrived, he found Admiral Clark waiting for him, surrounded by a group of other ship captains. He recognized Captain Amy Foster from the Discovery, Captain Nicole Brown of the Atlantic, and several others. In total, about 20 officers stood there, all with the same confused, uneasy look in their eyes. Admiral Clark spoke quietly, her voice low and controlled. Thank you all for coming. What I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest possible level. She looked each of them in the eye. The surrender announcement you heard earlier was a deception, a message meant for alien ears. The Zarian Dominion has been watching us, listening to every open channel. A murmur of surprise swept through the room, and Jake felt a spark of hope flare in his chest. For the past 30 years, Admiral Clark went on, ever since we intercepted the first alien probe, we've been preparing for this day, in secret. We've built a military force the aliens know nothing about. She stepped forward and activated a nearby console. A shimmering holographic display came to life, revealing a fleet of sleek, heavily armed warships, unlike any Jake had ever seen. Dark-hulled, angular, bristling with advanced weaponry, they looked born for war. We call it the Black Fleet, Clark said, her voice filled with grim pride, and it's time to bring it into the fight. The holographic display showed images of ships unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Sleek and completely black, these vessels had smooth, curved surfaces instead of the sharp, angular lines typical of human ships. They looked more like shadows given form than traditional spacecraft. These ships use advanced stealth technology, Admiral Clark explained. They're invisible to most alien sensors, and their weapons and defense systems are based on technology we've reverse-engineered from captured alien probes over the past 3 decades. Captain Foster raised a hand. Where are these ships? We've never seen anything like them in any human fleet. They've been hidden throughout the solar system, Admiral Clark replied. Some are stationed inside hollowed-out asteroids, others cloaked in the void of space. The Dominion has no idea they exist. The Admiral cycled through more images. The secret fleet was larger than Jake expected. He counted at least 50 vessels of various sizes, ranging from small nimble fighters to enormous battlecruisers. The largest ship, the Genesis, was a behemoth of war, and Admiral Clark would be personally commanding it in the coming battle. There's more, the Admiral continued. Dr. Eleni Rodriguez and her team have made an important discovery. The Dominion uses psychic technology to subjugate the populations of conquered worlds. But humans possess a natural resistance to this kind of mental manipulation. That gives us a key advantage. Jake felt a surge of amazement. For years, Earth's government had been secretly preparing for this invasion, and the so-called surrender announcement was just a calculated deception meant to lull the aliens into overconfidence. "What do you need from us?" asked Captain Nicole Brown. "Your ships will be retrofitted with advanced weapons and defensive systems immediately," Admiral Clark said. "Colonel Mike Torres will oversee the upgrades. You'll also be assigned new crew members, specialists who've been training for this mission in secret for years." Over the following days, Jake watched as his ship, the Endeavor, was transformed. Teams of engineers worked around the clock, installing powerful new shield generators, advanced sensor arrays, and devastating new weapons. These weapons use quantum energy to disrupt molecular bonds, Dr. Kevin Walsh explained to Jake, his eyes wide with fascination. They can cut through almost any material, and the new shield systems can absorb and redirect enemy energy blasts. Jake also met the fresh faces joining his crew. Lieutenant Chris Davis, a skilled fighter pilot, had spent the last 5 years training with the Black Fleet. Sergeant Lisa Brown, a communications specialist, could intercept and decode alien transmissions. "We've been waiting for this moment our entire lives," Davis told Jake. "The aliens think they're dealing with primitive humans who will bow without a fight. They have no idea what's coming." Meanwhile, Captain Amy Foster and the Discovery had been given a special assignment. Her ship was equipped with advanced cyber warfare systems capable of infiltrating alien networks. She'd already begun intercepting Dominion communications and gathering intelligence on their fleet's movements. "They're incredibly arrogant," Amy reported during a secure meeting. "They see this as just another routine conquest. They've divided their forces and aren't taking even basic precautions against a surprise attack. Even Earth's defense systems had been upgraded in secret." Dr. Miguel Martinez, a physicist who'd worked on the clandestine project for 15 years, explained how they had deployed massive energy collection arrays throughout the solar system. "These stations gather and store solar energy," he said, "and can be used to power our new defense platforms and weapons grids. It gives us an unprecedented energy advantage when the battle begins." Hope stirred within the officers assembled in that room. For the first time, they saw a path forward, not just survival, but the possibility of victory. And soon, it would be time to test it. They can collect power directly from the sun and redirect it as defensive barriers or devastating energy weapons. Jake learned during one of the final briefings, but the preparations extended far beyond just building new ships or weapon platforms. Entire asteroid mining stations had been secretly converted into fortified military bases. Advanced AI systems, designed in complete secrecy, had been built to coordinate fleet movements, defensive, grids, and counterattacks in real time. Even some of the civilian evacuation transports were actually heavily armed warships disguised as cargo vessels, ready to spring the trap when the moment came. "The aliens will expect us to fight with the ships they've already seen," Admiral Clark explained during another classified briefing. "They've calculated our known military strength and decided it isn't enough to stop them, but they don't know about the Black Fleet. When they arrive, expecting an easy victory, they'll find themselves surrounded by weapons and warships they never imagined existed." As the final hours approached, Jake felt an uneasy blend of fear and adrenaline. The plan was dangerously bold, but it was humanity's only realistic shot at survival. The Zarian Dominion had conquered hundreds of worlds through overwhelming force and psychological warfare. But this time, they would be facing an opponent prepared to counter their tactics, one that refused to kneel. The key to this plan is surprise. Admiral Clark reminded every ship's captain in their last secured briefing. The aliens must believe they're winning right up to the second we reveal the Black Fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every advantage we hold depends on keeping them blind until the exact moment we strike. Jake returned to the Endeavor with those words ringing in his ears. In just days, humanity would either achieve its greatest military victory or be utterly destroyed. Yet for the first time since receiving the alien ultimatum, Jake allowed himself to believe humanity might actually win. The Black Fleet was ready. Now, they just had to wait for the enemy's first move, and then, the final day arrived. Captain Jake Morrison stood silently on the bridge of the Endeavor, watching the main display as President Lisa Carter prepared to address the entire solar system. Hundreds of ships hung motionless in Earth's orbit, their crews waiting in tense silence for the announcement that would decide the fate of their species. President Carter's image appeared on every screen, every console, and every blink. Her face was calm, resolute, though the exhaustion behind her eyes was visible. Behind her stood Admiral John Hayes and several of Earth's top government officials, all wearing the grave expressions of those about to roll the dice of history. "Hi, Commander Vex Taylor of the Zarian Dominion," President Carter began, her voice steady and clear. "You have demanded our unconditional surrender within 30 days. After careful deliberation, the United Government of Earth formally rejects your ultimatum. Humanity will not bow to intimidation. We will defend our freedom and our right to exist as an independent people." A surge of pride swept through Jake. Around him, his crew cheered and applauded, and across the fleet, similar shouts of defiance rang out on every ship. Then, the main screen flickered, and the alien leader appeared. High Commander Vex Taylor was tall and gaunt, his skin an ashen gray, his eyes a deep, ominous crimson. His voice, cold and venomous, reverberated across the channels. "Foolish, short-lived creatures," Taylor spat. "You have sealed your own destruction. My fleet will arrive within hours. Your worlds will burn, your people will fall, and your existence will be erased. Resistance is meaningless." The screen cut out, replaced a moment later by a priority message from Admiral Clark. Her voice came through steady, calm, and unwavering. "This is Admiral Clark to all Black Fleet units. Operation Dark Strike is now active. Move to assigned positions and hold stealth protocols until I give the signal. Remember, surprise is everything." Jake's pulse pounded in his ears. Around the system, the once hidden Black Fleet began to move, slipping silently from their secret locations, from hollowed asteroids, deep space staging points, and camouflaged orbitals. Ships long forgotten, never known to the public, now took their place in humanity's last stand. "Captain, incoming sensor data," called Dr. Kevin Walsh. Glancing up from his console with wide eyes, massive energy signatures inbound. The Dominion fleet is entering the outer solar system. On the main screen, a terrifying sight unfolded. Hundreds of massive alien warships materialized from faster-than-light travel, their enormous forms blotting out distant stars. Each vessel was immense, easily eclipsing even Earth's largest ships. They moved with perfect, disciplined precision, a storm of metal and energy bearing down on humanity's home. Jake Morrison drew a long breath, straightened his uniform, and spoke to his crew. "This is it. Let's show them what humanity's made of." Their massive, ominous ships moved through space in perfect, sinister formation, dark holes bristling with weapon ports. Their angular shapes like a swarm of vast, predatory insects. Each vessel dwarfed anything humanity had ever built, and they closed the distance with chilling precision. Then, The voice of High Commander Stellar echoed through every open comm channel, dripping with contempt. "Humans," he sneered, "behold the might of the Zarian Dominion. Your pitiful fleet cannot stand against us. Surrender now, and we will grant you the mercy of swift death." Admiral Hayes quickly issued the expected response, ordering the conventional human fleet to defensive positions around Earth. From the Endeavor's bridge, Jake watched familiar ships, the cruiser Liberty, the destroyer Freedom, and others, move into formation. These were the vessels the aliens expected to fight, the ones they had already factored into their calculations. Confident they would crush them with ease, the Dominion ships advanced steadily, arrogantly, not bothering with tight formations or defensive precautions. It was clear they saw no threat in what lay ahead, convinced they were marching toward a simple, decisive victory over a primitive, inferior race. Then, a voice crackled through the secure fleet channel. "All Black Fleet units, this is Admiral Clark," came the steady command. "Enemy fleet is moving into position. Prepare for Phase 1. Jake glanced at his tactical display. Red icons marked the alien warships, an ocean of death sweeping toward Earth, but scattered among the planetary orbits and asteroid fields, invisible to enemy sensors, were the green icons of the cloaked Black Fleet. Dozens of powerful, hidden warships lying in wait. The Zarian Dominion was sailing straight into a trap. A private channel opened. "Jake," came Captain Amy Foster's voice. "I've been monitoring their traffic. They're completely overconfident. Their commanders are already arguing over which human colonies to wipe out first." The first phase of battle began near Mars. The conventional human fleet made a brave stand, engaging the Dominion warships in a desperate fight. As expected, their outdated weaponry was no match for the alien fleet's advanced energy cannons. Jake's heart sank as he watched several human ships, good people, friends and allies, torn apart by devastating volleys of alien fire. "This is awful," Lieutenant Maria Santos whispered, watching the battle unfold. "Those crews, they don't have a chance. They know what they're doing," Jake replied grimly. "Every second they hold those aliens here, every ship they make, the Dominion chase down, buys time, and sets the bait. Their sacrifice is what makes the trap possible." As the decoy fleet fought and fell, High Commander Stellar transmitted another message, his face radiating smug triumph. "See how your defenders crumble before our might. Your resistance delays the inevitable. Soon your home world will burn, and your species will be nothing but a forgotten mistake of the cosmos." But in the shadows of space, Admiral Susan Clark was watching it all, from the command ship Genesis. Her eyes followed the enemy fleet as it stretched out across the inner solar system, spread thin, overconfident, exactly where she wanted them. "All units." She spoke quietly into the secure channel, her voice steady, prepared to initiate Phase 2. "This is Admiral Clark," came the calm, resolute voice across the secure channel. "Execute Dark Strike. Reveal the Black Fleet." A surge of adrenaline shot through Jake as he stared at the tactical display. All across the solar system, green icons flared to life, one after another. Black Fleet ships dropped their cloaking fields, revealing themselves like ghosts materializing from the darkness. In an instant, the Dominion fleet realized they were surrounded by warships they had never even suspected existed. Commander Ryan Baker led the first strike, his shadow cruisers emerging from the void like silent predators. Their matte black hulls absorbed every trace of light, making them difficult to see even when uncloaked. Swift, agile, and heavily armed, they were unlike the lumbering human ships the aliens had dismissed hours earlier. "Target their command vessels first," Admiral Clark ordered. "Break their coordination, shatter their chain of command." Lieutenant Sarah Williams piloted a reconnaissance vessel that remained cloaked, feeding targeting data to the attack squadrons. Her advanced sensors cut through enemy stealth fields and scanned for vulnerabilities in the alien ship's designs. The Xerian fleet was caught completely off guard. Their tight formations disintegrated as the Black Fleet struck from every direction. Using weapons and tactics the Dominion had never seen before, quantum torpedoes phased effortlessly through alien shields, detonating inside hulls and obliterating vital systems. High-intensity energy beams sliced through armor like it was paper. On every Dominion command channel, panic spread. "Impossible," Vex Thaler shouted. "Where did these ships come from? Our scanners detected nothing on Earth." Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the chaos unfold and allowed herself a grim smile. "Their psionic scanners can only detect minds tuned to their frequency," she explained to her team. "Human neural patterns don't register the way they expect. It's our greatest natural defense." The ambush intensified. Phantom destroyers emerged from asteroid fields, where they had been hidden for years. Stealth fighters zipped through the Dominion formations like swarms of hornets, peppering enemy cruisers with precision fire. On board the Endeavor, Jake gave the order to drop stealth and join the attack. "Target that alien destroyer to starboard," Jake commanded. "Fire quantum torpedoes." The torpedoes struck home. The alien destroyer's shields shimmered, faltered, and collapsed as quantum energy ripped through its systems. A second later, the ship was a drifting wreck, its engines dead, its weapons silenced. Similar scenes played out across the system. The Dominion fleet, which had entered the Sol system expecting an easy conquest, now found itself scattered and bleeding. Their numerical superiority meant little when they couldn't regroup or defend against fast, invisible enemies that struck without warning. "Admiral Clark to all units." Her voice cut through the din of battle. "Phase 1 is complete. The enemy is in disarray. Prepare for Phase 2. Show them humanity will never bow." Jake glanced around his bridge, seeing nothing but fierce determination in his crew's faces. Every one of them understood. This was the moment that would decide the future of their world. On the Dominion flagship, High Commander Vex Thaler screamed orders as explosions rattled his command vessel. For the first time in his long military career, he faced an opponent that could truly threaten him. "Reform defensive lines," he bellowed. "Concentrate fire on the human stealth vessels. Destroy them before they can strike again." But it was a futile effort. The Black Fleet moved like nothing the Dominion had ever encountered, phasing in and out of stealth, striking with deadly precision, then vanishing before the enemy could react. Jake watched the battle unfold, his retrofitted weapons systems cutting down alien fighters as his ship maneuvered toward a larger target. "Captain, incoming transmission from Admiral Clark," reported Lieutenant Maria Santos. Her voice came through the comm, loud and clear amid the chaos. "All units. The enemy's trying to regroup," Admiral Clark declared. "We can't let them. Keep pressing the attack. Don't give them a chance to recover." Jake gave a grim nod. "Let's finish this. Keep them scattered. Hit and run. No fixed positions," came Admiral Clark's order over the secure channel. "Acknowledged," Jake responded, turning to his weapons officer. "Target that alien cruiser heading for Earth. All weapons, fire." The Endeavor unleashed its arsenal. Quantum torpedoes streaked through space, followed by searing energy beams. The alien ship's shields flared bright for a moment, then failed under the sustained assault. A chain of explosions rippled down its hull as critical systems overloaded and detonated one by one. Across the solar system, the same pattern was unfolding. The Black Fleet pressed their advantage, striking with speed and precision. Commander Ryan Baker led his squadron of shadow cruisers into the heart of the Dominion formation, targeting the crucial supply ships. "This is Baker." His voice crackled through the tactical channel. "Shadow units, hit their logistics vessels. Cut their supply lines without fuel and munitions. Their battleships are dead in the water. Quantum torpedoes and stealth missiles rain down on the Dominion's support ships. One by one, the bulky vessels erupted in gouts of fire and debris. Without those supply ships, the Dominion fleet's immense war machines would soon begin to falter. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Sarah Williams, aboard her stealth recon ship, continued feeding vital data to the fleet. "Admiral Clark," she reported urgently, "I've detected a pattern in their fleet movements. They're using psychic signals from their command vessel to coordinate maneuvers. That ship's their brain, cut it off, and the fleet loses cohesion." Admiral Clark didn't hesitate. "Copy that, Lieutenant. All units, priority target is the Dominion command ship. Disable it, and we break their fleet." But High Commander Vex Taylor wasn't about to fall easily. A veteran of countless wars, he recognized the danger. At once, he ordered his remaining warships to form a defensive perimeter around his flagship, while launching a desperate all-out counteroffensive. His voice snarled through every frequency. "Humans, you may have surprised us, but you cannot defeat the Dominion. We have crushed the armies of 200 worlds. Your petty rebellion ends now." He wasn't entirely wrong. Despite the early success of the ambush, the Black Fleet remained vastly outnumbered. Even after heavy losses, the Dominion still fielded over 500 warships, and now their commanders were adapting. On the Endeavor, Dr. Kevin Walsh's voice cut through the tension. "Captain, the aliens are adjusting to our tactics. I'm seeing coordinated fire patterns and overlapping shield formations. They're countering our hit-and-run attacks." Jake could see it too. Dominion ships began moving in tighter groups, protecting one another with intersecting shields and focusing their fire to overwhelm isolated Black Fleet units. Several human vessels had already been destroyed or crippled as the aliens adapted. Then, Admiral Clark's voice came across the fleet's secure line, sharp, urgent. "All units, the enemy's adapting faster than anticipated. Activate contingency protocols." Jake's heart raced. He knew what came next. The most dangerous phase of the battle was about to begin. "Prepare for full assault," he ordered his crew. "It's now or never." "Activate the orbital defense platforms," Admiral Clark commanded. "It's time we show them what home field advantage really means." All around Earth and Mars, seemingly harmless asteroids and clusters of debris suddenly powered up, revealing themselves as massive, heavily armed defense installations. These platforms had been meticulously disguised for years, their true purpose hidden in plain sight. Now, they came alive. Dr. Rafael Martinez, watching from Earth's Tactical Operations Center, held his breath. He'd spent 15 years designing these platforms, pouring everything he knew into their defenses: concentrated solar energy collectors, magnetic field manipulation, and adaptive energy redirection systems. This was their moment of truth. The first wave of Dominion energy weapons, beams that had laid waste to entire worlds, slammed into Earth's orbit, but instead of annihilating their targets, the alien attacks met shimmering barriers projected by the defense grid. The platforms absorbed the energy, redirected it through massive conductors, and hurled it back at the attackers in blinding counterstrikes. Alien cruisers reeled under the assault, several ships detonating as their own weapons were turned against them. "Impossible," Vexed Taylor roared aboard his flagship. "Their technology cannot be this advanced. They are primitives." But it wasn't just the technology giving humanity the edge. Lieutenant Chris Davis, leading a squadron of Black Fleet fighters, was weaving through alien formations with impossible agility. The aliens, trained for rigid, predictable tactics, struggled against the humans' improvisation. Captain Davis reported to Jake, "These guys fight like machines. Once you figure out their pattern, they're easy to outmaneuver." Jake grinned. "Then keep them guessing, Lieutenant. No patterns, no mercy." The battle's turning point came when Captain Nicole Brown, commanding a stealth cruiser, launched a daring assault straight at the Dominion flagship. Slipping through the chaos undetected, her vessel reached point-blank range and fired a full spread of quantum torpedoes directly at the ship's psychic command center. "This is Brown," she broadcast to the fleet. "Target struck there. Command network is collapsing." The effect was immediate. Across the Dominion fleet, alien ships faltered. Formations broke apart as their psychic coordination system disintegrated. Ships that had moved in perfect unison a moment before now drifted erratically, firing wildly or falling silent. Admiral John Hayes, leading the conventional human fleet, saw his moment. "All ships," Hayes barked, "full assault. Press the advantage. Support the Black Fleet's advance." The human forces surged forward. Even battered, limping vessels joined the attack, determined to strike one more blow before they fell. The combined might of humanity pressed against the disoriented Dominion fleet. In Earth's command center, Dr. Elena Rodriguez caught a pattern amid the chaos. "Admiral Clark," she called out, "I'm picking up surrender signals, alien ships dropping shields and hailing us." She quickly decoded the messages. The meaning made her heart race. They're saying they never wanted this war. The Dominion forced them. To fight threatened their worlds. Some of them are asking for sanctuary. The news spread rapidly through the human fleet. Captains who moments ago had been locked in desperate battle now found themselves receiving surrender signals from enemy ships. Captain Amy Foster, who'd spent the battle intercepting alien communications, reached out to one of the defectors. "This is Foster to alien vessel, requesting surrender confirmation. We'll send a boarding team." A weary alien captain responded, his voice strained but filled with unmistakable relief. "Thank you, humans. We are done with the Dominion's endless wars. Many of us fought only to save our families." As more alien ships surrendered or defected, vital intelligence flooded into human hands. Details on Dominion tactics, weaknesses, and fleet movements. The tide of battle shifted decisively. The Dominion formation crumbled, vexed. Once invincible fleet was being routed, one ship after another falling to human fire or defecting to the other side. Abandoned by his own forces, High Commander Vex Taylor stood alone on the bridge of his shattered command ship. Around him, flickering screens displayed the grim reality. His once invincible fleet was in ruins. More than 1,000 Dominion warships had entered the human system. Barely 50 battered vessels remained, limping toward the outer edges of the solar system. The rest lay as debris-strewn wreckage, or had surrendered to human forces. "This cannot be happening," Vex Taylor muttered, his voice brittle with disbelief. "We are the Dominion. We are supreme. How can these primitive creatures defeat us?" But across the void, Jake Morrison knew the answer. Watching the scattered remnants of the enemy fleet on his tactical display, Jake understood why humanity had triumphed, not through numbers, nor superior technology. They had won because they refused to break, because they could adapt and improvise, and because they fought not for conquest, but for their freedom, their homes, and the survival of their species. The battle for Earth was over. The war, Jake realized, was just beginning. On Vex Thaler's bridge, the silence was broken by a trembling voice. "Commander," his communications officer whispered, "the human fleet demands our surrender. They've ordered us to power down weapons and prepare to be boarded." Vexed Thaler turned to the view screen, seeing what was left of his fleet, fragments of ships adrift in the void, while human vessels, both conventional and Black Fleet alike, prowled through the wreckage, like hunters among wounded prey. Never, in the centuries-long history of the Zirian Dominion, had such a defeat occurred. Before he could speak, a new transmission cut through the gloom. Admiral Susan Clark appeared on the screen, her face resolute but not cruel, her voice firm, yet tempered by compassion. "High Commander Vex Thaler," she said, "your invasion has failed. Your fleet is destroyed. I offer you one chance to surrender with honor. Your surviving crew will be treated according to the standards of human military law." For a long moment, Vex Taylor said nothing. Centuries of arrogance, of absolute dominance, weighed on him. The Dominion had never been forced to surrender. It was unthinkable. And yet the tactical displays told the truth. His empire's greatest fleet had been defeated. Slowly, the proud commander bowed his head. "I accept your terms," Vex Taylor said quietly. The Xerian Dominion fleet surrenders to human forces. Across the solar system, alien ships powered down their weapons, surrender signals flashing one after another. Human boarding teams moved in. Captain Jake Morrison led one of the first teams aboard a crippled Dominion cruiser. What he found inside surprised him. The crew was not just the gray-skinned Xerians. There were blue-scaled reptilians, towering insect-like beings, and others Jake had never seen before. And most wore expressions, not of hatred, but relief. One of them, a blue-skinned officer with golden eyes, stepped forward and spoke in accented but clear English. "We are grateful to be free of Dominion control," he said. "My name is Zeke Kaler. My people were conquered 50 years ago. We've fought their wars ever since, under threat of annihilation." Jake exchanged a look with his team. "You're not our enemies," he said. "Not anymore." Dr. Elena Rodriguez arrived soon after, tasked with interviewing the alien prisoners. Her background in exoanthropology and political history made her uniquely suited for what came next, unraveling the true structure of the Dominion, a vast empire built on conquest and forced conscription, where many worlds fought not by choice, but through fear. As she spoke with the alien survivors, a new truth emerged. This victory at Earth had not only defended humanity, but ignited hope across dozens of oppressed species. The Dominion, for the first time in centuries, had been broken in open battle. And with it, the illusion of their invincibility shattered. For the first time, Jake felt the war wasn't just for Earth anymore. It was for every world still under Dominion rule. And it was far from over. Morrison found himself at the center of this extraordinary shift in galactic politics. What had begun as a desperate battle for survival was rapidly transforming into the foundation of a new interstellar alliance. "Jake," Dr. Elena Rodriguez told him in a private briefing, "this changes everything. The Dominion was built on fear, psychic manipulation, and brutal control. With their military backbone fracturing, their empire can't hold." President Carter's bold message had rippled across the stars. The offer of protection and freedom, coming from the species that had defied the seemingly unstoppable Dominion, resonated with countless oppressed worlds. Within days, Alina reported, over 30 worlds declared their independence. Dozens more have sent covert messages asking for help to break free. This isn't just a military victory, it's a political revolution. Admiral Clark began assembling what would come to be called the Allied Liberation Fleet. The core of the Black Fleet remained, but it was soon joined by ships crewed by former Dominion conscripts, reptilian warships, insectoid cruisers, and vessels from species humanity had never encountered before. Captain Amy Foster, tasked with integrating these new allies, was both optimistic and cautious. "There'll be challenges," she admitted to Jake. "Different command structures, different technologies, different cultures. But we all want the same thing, to end the Dominion's rule." The most skeptical voice came from Admiral John Hayes. "We need to be smart," he warned the Colonial Defense Council. "Some of these species have fought each other for centuries. Others may still have Dominion sympathizers in their ranks. Unity won't come easy." But no one could deny the momentum. President Carter's message had ignited a galactic uprising. World after world was rising. Dominion garrisons were being overthrown, and entire fleets were switching allegiances. As the weeks passed, Jake Morrison watched a new fleet taking shape in orbit above Earth. a patchwork armada of human and alien vessels, flying under a single banner. And for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy had a coalition strong enough to challenge the Dominion. "It's not over," Jake told his officers, as they gathered in the Endeavor's conference room. "But we've shown them that even the smallest flame of freedom can spark a fire the whole galaxy can see. Now, we carry that fire to every world still under their rule." "The galaxy would never be the same again," said Zex Kaler, standing beside Jake on the bridge. "This is what my people dreamed of for generations. Not just escape, but a future." Jake glanced at the vast display of ships ahead of them. Human cruisers, insectoid warships with organic hulls, reptilian vessels that shimmered like liquid metal in the starlight, flags and emblems from worlds once thought lost to tyranny now flew proudly beside one another. "We started as survivors," Jake replied quietly. "Now we're builders of something bigger." Lieutenant Chris Davis chimed in from the helm. "Sensors show rebel transmissions from the Outer Rim colonies, Captain. They're asking for help and ready to fight." "Then we'll answer," Jake said, standing tall. "Plot a course. Signal the fleet." As the combined fleet leaped into faster than light travel, Admiral Clark's final message before departure echoed in Jake's mind. This isn't just the end of the Dominion. It's the beginning of a new galactic order, one built by those who refuse to be conquered. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the ships disappeared into the void, carrying with them the hopes of 100 worlds. Humanity had not only survived, they had sparked a revolution that would reshape the galaxy for generations to come. End of Book 1.